gets it.
So I get a 2 for
Yes,
here.
yeah.
Blab time.
You're doing
Okay.
it both rows.
Well, I had never, YA hadn't quite been, I mean, it really became specifically branded, I think, in the 90s, kind of a hard and fast way. I mean, it always existed, but especially as differentiated from mid-grade, it was kind of like picture books and then older kid books, sort of too general. And then we had, because of Harry Potter and some other things, and Harry Potter is, strictly speaking, probably mid-grade, at least it starts that way. But YA kind of comes as a distinct marketing category, it comes of age in the 90s. But right before that, I had not thought of myself as trying to break into YA. I was a working writer, a young dad, and I had written comics and video game scripts, had some plays produced on the creative side. Then my day job was working as a journalist, which I still do in LA, editor, columnist of various movie biz publications, etc. So I hadn't done some creative writing in a while, and there was a dad, and my firstborn son was running around the house one night saying, "I'm a danger boy, I'm a danger boy." And I had rediscovered picture books at this time. And there was a sort of 90s era renaissance of picture books with guys like Chris von Allsburg and David Wiesberg, you know, these guys. And what they were doing with, you know, the tension between image and prose, and what they were doing, kind of reinventing picture books as a powerful storytelling medium, reminded me of what had happened in comics in the 80s. It seemed very similar to that kind of, you know, boom of new energy, and sort of and taking form and pushing its storytelling capabilities as an artifact in terms of its content. So I would look at what came after that, and it was the primacy of these series like Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High, and it was very, you know, landlocked and very rigid in terms of formula. So I had what I thought was a creative, you know, an original idea, which turned out the idea everybody had in the 90s, which was, what if you took the series template and did like sort of the equivalent of like an HBO series for kids, where it was dark, it was an interconnected arc, the characters aged a little bit, people came and went, you didn't know if everybody was going to be, you know, was going to make it to the end of the saga, you know, kind of like life. And this was before I discovered Harry Potter, before my son, so I wasn't exactly ripping her off, but there was some zeitgeist thing going on. And so I just became fortuitously part of the, you know, sort of the edgy series boom of the 90s. It was just a sort of a fluke of timing when I was shopping this around. So another publisher said, well, what could our dark series be? And I had my time travel series, so I kind of, you know, grabbed a seat in the train, and I probably still a J.K. Rowling a Guinness at the pub next to her castle, you know, for causing the boom there.
I'm exempt from this one, I don't know.
Why do you read this stuff then? You read what your kids read.
I can't keep up anymore, actually. When I was a kid, I missed what we would call YA.
Okay.
Because I was reading the adult stuff way earlier than everybody else. I was very fast reader.
And people were encouraging you to do that, weren't they?
Right, because my parents read voraciously in horror and things like that. So as long as there wasn't heavy sex scenes in there, go for it. We're fine. So I didn't catch, in fact, I was an adult before I read any of the Oz books, or before I read C.S. Lewis, or any of that. I actually read as an adult to see what I missed.
And you missed a lot.
Yeah, quite a bit. But it was really more fun to read them as an adult, I think, because you catch everything.
Well,
you know, you don't miss any of the nuances.
But it's really fun to read it and then go back and then go, whoa, there's this whole layer there that I didn't know, that I just discovered. That's how you know it's art. Every time you go back to it, you see something new.
Sort of my objection to the whole idea of YA as a marketing thing is, to me, there's good fiction and bad fiction.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter what age it's supposed to be read at. It's either good or it's bad. So, for example, one of the greatest fantasies I think I've ever read is the Bartimaeus trilogy, which is YA.
God, that's wonderful.
And it's so good. And I would not call that
you could not do that ending for the adults.
No.
I was expecting a completely different ending. That is a tough ending.
Can you repeat the name of
The
this?
Bartimaeus trilogy by Jonathan Stroud.
Jonathan Stroud, they really are very...
I will not tell you about the ending, but you are going to have a certain set of expectations, and he's going to go, screw that, this is real. This is how it's happening, and you're going to go, whoa.
And he has the lead character who, the first person you meet who in any traditional sort of YA thing will be that person you're cheering for, is kind of a jerk.
Yeah, he really is.
I mean, he has his good points, but on the whole,
Society is
He's
making him
awful.
into a jerk. Society is
Yeah.
making him into a jerk. You can see the process by which he is jerkified.
but if I was writing, when I write, I intentionally try not to include things that a younger person couldn't read because I'm kind of a prude. So anything I write would really be YA if you're just going by content, more or less. But it doesn't involve kids necessarily, so it wouldn't be marketed as such. But to me, like I said, if my kids are allowed to read it, as far as I can say, yeah, you can read that. It's YA, you know. Go for it.
There's a level at which I agree with you on that. All genres are marketing conveniences.
Yes.
You know, too many people will say, I like this, I
Okay,
don't like that.
I've got to interject something
Okay.
from a thematic standpoint.
Yeah.
Yes, YA is a marketing thing that they,
Yeah.
you know, where are we going to put it in the bookstore? It's got a teen in it, we'll put it in the teen shelves. However, YA does have thematic differences that separate a book
Absolutely.
that's written for the YA category is certainly enjoyable for everybody because we've all been in this stage at one point. And for me, and this is, you know, from reading and not anything I do on purpose, but the young adult category is about, and I was kind of interested in what you said about jumping straight to adult books because there's a lot of fantasy and science fiction that
Is
used
really
to
YA.
be, yeah, it used to be
Yeah.
shelved on the genre shelves, now it's in the teen shelves, and it's because the theme is very much the prince having to prove himself to be the king, the apprentice having to prove himself to come to the next level. In young adult now, a lot of times it's high school or college student, or you know, whatever age, because there's young YA and older YA. No, I'm not making it up. And it's taking your first steps to be viewed as an adult by the world. So that's thematically there is something that makes it a young adult story.
Oh yeah, the narrative template is that in a young adult story, it is the young adult who solves the problem.
Yes.
Right.
And they do tend to be, they also tend to follow a traditional sort of coming of age idiom where the character starts out as the child and must through a series of experiences learn to take on notions like personal responsibility for my actions, and I cannot rely on anyone else now. It has to be my own ingenuity to figure all this out because I can't go to mom and dad anymore to be helped, and I have to do this on my own. And that is the classical transition from child to adulthood. You know, the taking on of the personal responsibilities, and the stories tend to be about that largely,
Yes.
even if it's on like a broader
level, yeah.
and it's only handling the whole thing thematically.
Exactly.
And even something like Harry Potter, that's exactly go for boy to man, because he, you know, that's why, you know, everyone's read these, right? So nobody's going to go, you asshole, when I say Dumbledore dies, and so he dies for the reason that, you know, Harry can, it's his turn.
It's
so
Star Wars too.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
the whole thing.
Obi-Wan Kenobi has to die.
The mentor, you know, character always has to go away at a certain point so
Yes.
that the callow youth can now become the man, and or whatever, the princess can become the young lady.
Right.
Do that.
But that's